Return to Wisdom is a space where we will explore subjects like relationship, motherhood, and health through a new lens. Bring a curious mind and an open heart and get ready to delve into the deep with your host, Keshia. Wow, Keshia, how great is the quality of your new podcast, Return to Wisdom? Oh, mate, I know. I have been recording at Byron Bay's premium content and podcast recording studio, Pod Byron. They are epic. It's new, it's fresh, it's legit, as you can see. If you want to upskill your brand, if you want to create a course online, this is the place to do it. Jump on at podbyron.com and be sure to check the show notes for a sneaky little discount on your first session. Pod Byron is where it's at. You! True story. I used to get panic attacks, and when I went and investigated this, it turns out I had low iron, something 1 in 3 of us have. Now, regular iron supplements, gross. They're full of synthetics. Your body doesn't even absorb it, and be honest, inflammation. So when I found this supplement, I just had to share it with you guys. It is Great Spirit. They are organic, synthetic free. It is all whole food based, and they're produced here in Australia. I cannot believe the difference I've seen in my energy levels and no panic attacks. So if you want to check them out, you can head to greatspirit.com.au. Use the code Keshia20 for 20% off your first order and enjoy feeling good again. Welcome everyone to Return to Wisdom. Today I get to have the pleasure of speaking to Kiera Lea again. She has returned.
I am back.
She's returned. Look, a lot has happened for you since our last chat, and we were just talking off air about a lot of it, and it is, I don't know, maybe you can write a book and people can learn a lot from your experience, but as someone who is so young as you and has achieved so much and then also withstood so much, holy cow, are you a different person?
I feel like last time we spoke, I was like this innocent little girl, like all bright and starry-eyed, like looking at the world, and now I'm like an old woman, like very cynical. I know. I think, I mean, without going into details, it's been a rough trot. Oh, yeah.
And here I am talking to so many people about how we need to stop with all the man hate and stop with, these gender wars and these conflicts between the sexes. And then I get a little insight into your story and I'm like, well, fuck. What do I say to that? There are still, I don't know, as a woman, you still have to be wary in some situations. Mm-hmm. Maybe I just keep my opinions within the realm of relationship. Maybe. But no, I am extremely impressed with how you have managed yourself in this time. And I'm so excited to hear about everything you've learnt in quantum health. We'll stick with quantum biology maybe for today.
I feel like we should do another episode on like withstanding things and women in business and all these types of situations. I feel like it'd be a fun episode.
Absolutely. I think you have a lot to contribute to that conversation, my dear. But no, even just thinking about when we first spoke and everything you had gone through with COVID and within university, and like how quickly, and I was so impressed at the time speaking to you, being like, oh my God, you were in a university, you were surrounded by this culture of like, single-mindedness, in regards to vaccines, in regards to how to act in a pandemic, in regards to, oh God, the list goes on. But here you are critically thinking when those your age don't get taught how to critically think. And I was so impressed by that. And now looking at how far you've come and everything that you have endured to get here, that me being impressed is like an understatement. But no, I know that you have lots of new information for us. So back to motherhood. Actually, maybe because I do have a few new followers, if you would like to introduce yourself, give us an elevator pitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with what you said as well, just about, stopping the man hate and this and this. And I think it's just like time that we just say we all just need to be better. Like we all just need to get really clear in our morals, on our purpose, and actually embody that in ourselves, whether we're male or female. And I mean, I think where we find ourselves is such a challenging time. Never before have we ever been in a situation like this. We have everything that we need at the click of a button. And so it's not, when you can do anything you want in the world, it's not what do you want to do. It's not can I do it? It's like, what do I actually want to do? Like, what do I want? I'm going to die one day. What do I want to accomplish in this environment before I leave? And what do I want to be known for? And so I think in a world where you can do everything, it's what should you do? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. So it's like really choosing our actions and choosing how we behave in the places that we put our energy into, both genders, I think.
Yeah. Look, I think there's more to explore, especially for me. I'm like floating over from one side to the next. The more information I get, the more I'm just like, oh wow, like yeah, this, and like, hang on, wait. But no, I think, yeah, in terms of, gosh, everything, and just to throw another little coin into the discussion, I think that's like the main reason so many people are moving towards religion. Like they're looking for a moral framework. They're looking for just similar people who hold similar values, because Jesus, there's still a lot of cutthroat shenanigans happening out there.
There is. And just because this is something that got brought up to me by my friend Joel, he said just because you have similar values to somebody, or not a value, he said people are confusing values with interests. So just because you and I might be both interested in health, that's not actually really a core value. And so whilst you might be interested in health and I might be interested in health and a very niche part of health, doesn't mean you share my values of honesty or respect, or you're not the same person as me. And so, yeah, the value framework is so important. But, yeah, I mean, I can talk for your listeners about who I am and what I'm doing here. And
please.
So exciting. So if you're listening to this and you want to know more about my story, you can listen to the Road to Wisdom podcast. Yep. We did an episode together, which was fun and fantastic. And my mum came and listened, and that was so great for her to see what I actually do. For once.
It was awesome having her there.
Yeah.
She brought another energy into the room.
She did. A bored one at times, I feel. She's like, I need a coffee. But my name is Kiera Lea. I was studying to be a registered nurse. And then over COVID, I decided to leave that, partly because my mind was just exploding with new information and really just developing a whole new outlook on the world, of the actualities of life. And we're not taught about them in school. But we learn more of them if we start to think critically and we start to become sovereign people, like actually in charge of our own life and making decisions for us, rather than looking at a system that was making decisions for me and showing me the road that I was to travel, which really wasn't the road to wisdom at all. It was like the road to centralization. And I didn't want that. So I had to think differently and do different things. And so I left that, and around that same time I got really sick, because I had moved from the countryside into the city on scholarship for a university, and my environment completely changed. And I didn't know it at the time, because I thought that university was the best thing ever. I thought that getting a degree and job security and all of these things was so important, and the white picket fence and the new car every 5 years and all of those things would be happiness, and that's what you're meant to do in life. And then when I got sick, I started to learn about health, and that was my gateway, I guess, into decentralization. And studying nursing, looking at the way that we look at health through a biochemical model, really looking at the body affecting the body, as opposed to our environment impacting our body and our thoughts impacting our body, I couldn't stay in that system anymore. And I didn't really know what life would look like or what career that I was to go down from there. But I knew that I couldn't just sit there knowing what I knew about biology and health, looking at, I held my grandfather's hand when he passed away in hospital from lung cancer. We put our loved ones in there thinking that's the best place for them. That's the absolute best place. They're getting the best care there. Their best chance of survival is there. But what happens if it's not? And I didn't believe that it was. So I started studying some really fringe topics of health and became a women's health coach. And now I'm here a few years later. Wow, that's so long ago, almost 4 years now. 4 years now. COVID,
yeah.
Yeah, 4 years later. And I've spoken at events across the world, and I have a little podcast, and I don't post much on social media, but when I do, I feel like people somewhat listen for some sort of reason. And yeah, I just love exploring how our body actually works and seeing the results in my clients who perhaps haven't felt good in years, perhaps ever, and actually being able to turn their health around in such a short period of time through thinking differently. I just wouldn't want to do anything else. And so I'm back here talking to you now.
Which is awesome. I'd like to add to that you are an avid researcher and incredible at turning scientific jargon into layman terms. And that's something that I really appreciate, because I used to be able to read a whole study from abstract to conclusion and understand it. And now I look at it and I'm like glazing over, like I don't even know what any of these words mean anymore. I'm so out of practice. So it's so nice to have someone who can translate, which is basically what you do, and you're incredible at it. So I think in our last conversation we did talk a little bit about, because Chloe and I were pregnant at the time.
Yes, you are beautifully pregnant.
Thank you. We were very pregnancy, birth, and postpartum focused. But since then, you have seen more information, or you have discovered more information. There have been more studies around light and the effects of light, and I'd love for you to go into that. I know that, I don't know actually if it starts at conception, but maybe we can go into that. Recently, I have spoken to a couple of bioethicists, which we were talking about earlier, and looking at IVF and the ethics around that. Maybe just to go on the back of some of my conversations, you can talk about the effects of environment and light when we use these technologies, when it comes to even storage of gametes and then conception, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, of course.
Perfect.
Let's just see where the conversation takes us.
Yeah.
First of all, I just want to say something, because I do have clients that have utilized IVF and are utilizing IVF, because sometimes we just can't fix everything, right? And IVF, I think, can be such a beautiful thing, and it can give someone a child when they literally can't. I've seen people who deserve nothing more than to be the best parents ever really struggle to fall pregnant and actually stay pregnant, and IVF is able to lift that burden off of them. People that I would be so blessed if they were my parents, and you just want to cry and think, why is this happening to you? So I just want to state that is like such a good tool, and it's helping so many beautiful families. And it's important to see IVF in a time where people are thinking, well, our little health niche, thinking that it's quite the opposite. To seeing it as a beautiful thing, but then also acknowledging, why are we using IVF and what is actually causing that? And when you look at statistics, we're in such a pandemic of infertility. And I think we need to start putting more resources towards that. Maybe less resources towards vaccine creation and marketing, which costs us billions of dollars as taxpayers, even just in our state alone, and actually putting it towards more prominent areas that actually impact everyday individuals, like infertility and why is it actually happening. And we can blame it on genetics. Like they tell us that it's just genetics. Like, well, how come my grandmother had 7 children and she didn't even think about infertility? And how come my mother never had any issues or any of the illnesses that I have? Why is it me? How can I have these things passed on to me through genetics when they never had any of these things? And infertility is one of those. I talk a lot about circadian health. So lighting, quantum mechanics, how our thoughts, even things like standing on the ground and the impact it has on inflammation and how that ties into the infertility crisis that we find ourselves in. I think that modernity has a massive play to that. So if I look at what's changed, if I just think, and I put away the textbooks and the papers for a moment, and I just think what's changed from when I was a child to where I am now, and I look at it and it's phones and it's radiation levels and it's disconnection between not only just each other, intermediate family members, but also generations. It's a lack of safety, nervous system activation, and then another big one is light pollution and artificial light and our environment. We went from spending 90% of our time outdoors with our great-grandparents to now spending 90+% of our time indoors. And I think that these things, although we don't really think they have a big impact on our health, because in university we're taught the biochemical model, I think they're having such a big impact on our health right now and our infertility. I don't think one thing's bigger than the other. I think it all accumulates. But I think we really need to start thinking, am I broken? Is it my body that doesn't want to get pregnant, or am I just innately, genetically wired to be this way? Or is there something in my environment, something that I'm exposed to, something that I'm doing that is perhaps causing my body to respond in this way? And is infertility really a fault, or is it my body keeping me safe because it doesn't feel like it's a good time to have a baby? And I think that's a much better outlook at infertility. I feel like sometimes the mindset of, oh my gosh, I'm infertile, my body's broken, only prolongs something rather than fixing it. I don't know. I know you're really big on the mindset component as well.
Oh, 100%. I don't know if you've listened to the podcast towards the end of like when we started wrapping up, but we were looking at birth rates because globally birth rates are falling. I love talking about this. People are going to be like, yes, Keshia, we know now. But like looking at even just the social reasons for that. And I mean, if you break it down, all of those social reasons are our mindset. Like it is a mindset that like motherhood's a demotion, that we need a career first, that, but like I'm going to have to do all the heavy lifting while he sits on his ass or gets to just live his life.
Especially in Australia. Especially in Oz.
Yeah. So, and delaying the beginnings of a family, like all of this does impact our mindset and then our fertility. But yeah, I love looking at the circadian rhythm and quantum biology lens of infertility, because these are such simple ways we can correct and positively influence our health and get back into a state of allowing pregnancy to occur. So maybe we start there. We've spoken about the disconnection. How, like, what does the reverse of that look like? What is the optimal environment that we want to be doing pre-conception?
So I feel like if I was giving this talk maybe 2 years ago, we would have to go into a lot more introductions. But I actually feel like quantum biology and circadian health is like somewhat mainstream now, and everyone knows about red light and things. I think something that really hit home for me is when I was researching red light and its effect on fertility. I was reading this beautiful paper and it was saying everything that I thought. And I thought, this is great. This is a great paper. And I think I said this on our last podcast. I thought, who's funding this? Because I always like to know who's funding what I'm reading. And it was a fertility clinic trying to show that the rate of conception when they were doing like the IVF procedures to fertilize the eggs, the rate of fertilization, I should say, dramatically increased, like dramatically. I think the paper was 40-something% if they did it under red light versus artificial blue light.
Is this when they are creating the embryo, like in vitro, or is this when they're implanting?
Not during implantation. I think this study, no one's going to correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe we can link the article and it can correct me. But I'm pretty sure it was during fertilization. Okay. So when they had it externally and they were doing the fertilization process with sperm and oocyte. Yeah, and they were showing that blue light was really harmful and red light was fantastic. And so this data was going to go towards swapping out, the reasoning behind swapping out all the blue lights to red lights in the clinics. And I thought, they're posting this and they know this.
Yeah.
But how are they not telling mothers this information who are struggling with infertility before they go into an IVF program? And they're just not. And obviously the IVF clinics who have a lot of interesting investors, I will say, would lose a lot of money if people just started being able to have babies naturally. But so I guess when my journey really started into niching into fertility, endometriosis was really by demand. I didn't really know where I was going to start. I kind of said, God, wherever you want me, place me there. And I started receiving a lot of infertility clients and talking with a lot of really sad women who, up to 10 years of infertility, perhaps they'd already had a baby and they couldn't fall pregnant again, or they have endometriosis or PCOS or some sort of reproductive issue that's stopping them from falling pregnant. And it really forced me to not just focus on circadian rhythms from the lens of how can I optimize my health, how can I be stronger, how can I live longer, which it's a lot of the longevity researchers, I think, that are talking about the circadian health. But actually, how does that relate to fertility? And could this be causing the infertility crisis that we're in? And my verdict was like, absolutely. And I've seen it reversed in people, which is a great thing, but also a sad thing because they've spent all this money and gone all this time when the solution could have been quite simple. But I guess, should we start by explaining like what is quantum biology and what falls under that lens?
If you can elevator pitch it for those who don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So when I refer to quantum biology, I'm referring to not only quantum mechanics, which is a part that we love to nerd out on, but it's a bit complex. Don't really speak about it too much on podcasts and things. They pulled, for example, they've done experiments where they get two atoms from the same location, they separate them physically, and they'll do something to one atom and it actually happens to the other, even though they're not even physically connected. And so that's an example of quantum entanglement. And you'll think of your mom randomly after not thinking of her for a week, and you look down at your phone and she'll be calling you. Mm-hmm. So that's an example of quantum entanglement. Mm-hmm. And we have this ability to quantum entangle with things, and it somehow affects our consciousness. And so that's like one part of it, which is really cool. The other part of it is really looking at how our skin, even though we see it as a barrier to the outside world, it doesn't really exist, kind of. And we actually aren't so separate from our environment, and it's also interconnected. And so, for example, we used to think that standing on the ground outside didn't do anything for us, and that couldn't possibly impact our health. But we're not a closed thermodynamic system, meaning that the fuel that I put into me doesn't just do work and get excreted through urine or whatever. We're open thermodynamically, which means that I produce heat, and that affects my environment. That can be absorbed by you. And if we're laying in bed together, you'll be like, you're so hot, like get away from me, you know, these types of situations. I can't see wind. None of us can see wind. The only way we see wind is when we look out our window and we see the tree swaying in the air. And so although we can't see the wind, we can see it having a physical effect on a biological system. I know it's windy when I walk outside and I get little goosebumps up and down my neck. And this is the way that our environment impacts us, and we don't know. But we can utilize that energy and it can do things. Another example of this is sunlight. We think that sunlight's not too important, but trees grow to harvest it and plants only open to receive it. And we can see sunlight interacting with everything around us. In nature, even animals know when to wake up when the sun's up. It goes to bed when it's dark. And perhaps this sunlight that's around us isn't for nothing or for naught. And actually it's a signal. It's a circadian signal. And over the longest time, if you believe in evolution, we've been designed and we've evolved to use sunlight as a clock, something that governs our circadian rhythms and tells our body, okay, it's time to go to bed and run your nighttime program, and we're going to kick out all the cancer cells, and we're going to press play on your washing machine in your gut and clean that all out and get rid of all of those nasty toxins, and we're going to cleanse your brain of any inflammation that you may have so you're ready for the next day. If it's 10 a.m., you need to be awake. We're going to increase your cortisol, whatever it may be. This clock in the sky, the sun and its sun rays that change throughout the day are actually sending signals to our body. And one of these signals is actually fertility. We can see that animals actually get impregnated all at the same time in a herd. And there's different reasons as to why, but partly it's because of the seasons. And they have a greater chance of survival if they're born in a certain month because it's hot or cold or whatever it may be. And we're the exact same. And so we're starting to find out that things like wind and sunlight and standing on the ground are actually all impacting our health. An area that you wanted to talk about on this podcast was how our body actually uses sunlight as an antioxidant in pregnancy, which I'll give credit to a beautiful researcher. He's so fantastic and so kind. His name's Scott Zimmerman.
Mm-hmm.
If you type his name along with the word melatonin in Google, you'll see some of his great papers, and they're so easy to read. So easy to read. I love it. It makes my job so much easier. But he talks about how the amniotic fluid in pregnancy actually is designed to hold near-infrared biophotons.
Break that down for me.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, I don't know what that is. So near-infrared is a spectrum of infrared light, which comes from the sun all day. It's also very dominant at different hours, morning and afternoon. Plants don't really use it. They send it back to you. So if you shine sunlight on a plant, on a green plant, anything green, it'll absorb it, but then it'll kick back the near infrared, and that's because we use it. Plants don't. And vice versa with other things. Really cool. And so we can take and absorb this near infrared light. Not all of our biology absorbs it. So like our skin doesn't absorb the near infrared, but different things in our biology will, which is really cool to think that our skin is not actually a barrier for certain aspects of light. So if I'm near infrared light, and this is getting really nerdy, showing my true colors, and I'm going to look for a mitochondrion or something inside my body, a certain cell, there's no barrier there. Like the skin is it doesn't exist to me. Like I can't entangle with it. I can't touch it. I can only entangle with the things that I'm meant to and that are coded for me. So insane to think about. Let me know if this is getting too nerdy.
No, go. I'm enjoying it.
But Scott Zimmerman says that this near-infrared light is actually so abundant in amniotic fluid. Something that's really interesting about amniotic fluid and also near-infrared light is that it actually promotes melatonin, which is, we think it's something we give our kids to sleep. Hopefully not, though. It just got banned in Australia, I think, last week.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Ooh, we'll come
You're
back.
Like,
we'll come back.
Spicy topic.
I know. My gosh, giving me the what is it? News. Oh my god.
News update.
Update. What is it? Breaking news.
Breaking news. Melatonin is banned. Lots of parents are sleepless now.
Dude, no. Well, like I think I know a lot of people who either take it or give it. No, we're going to come back. I feel like that'll
we'll keep
derail
going
us.
on this.
Yeah,
Don't derail.
I'm writing it down. Go.
So we think as melatonin as something that just makes us sleepy, which is true. We have only one form of melatonin, but it's produced in different parts of the body, which I remember when I was learning about this, I was a bit confused. So we have pineal melatonin that controls our circadian rhythm from the hypothalamus, which is controlled by light in our eyes. So darkness tells our body, sleep time, produce melatonin. Light tells our body, okay, no more melatonin, it's time to be awake and do things. We also have localized melatonin, which is produced by our mitochondria, acts as an antioxidant. And this is a type of, only one type of melatonin, but this does the exact same thing in the amniotic fluid. So it promotes melatonin for baby when they're growing. And melatonin as an antioxidant is really important. To put that into perspective, I always call it the master antioxidant. So when we're thinking of an antioxidant, what is it actually doing? So it's combating inflammation or reactive oxygen species. So basically there's a fire, something's not going too wrong, there's lots of inflammation, it's not going too right. So melatonin comes along or an antioxidant comes along and that's the fire blanket, it puts it out for us. Crisis averted, we're healthy still. But when we don't have enough antioxidants and we have too much oxidants, things can get a little bit haywire and we have more inflammation than we do fire extinguishers, essentially. Don't know, I hope that's a good example. I guess an antioxidant people would be used to hearing about in like the health world is vitamin C. Like, yeah, vitamin C is great. Take that as an antioxidant. But we don't actually need that because we have melatonin. So the reason that melatonin is so superior is, one, it can go inside and outside of cells, whereas I think vitamin C is only water soluble, so it can't really get through those fatty parts and do its job all over systemically in the body. The other reason is that, and the reason that I touched on reactive oxygen species is that vitamin C can only control 3 reactive oxygen species. So vitamin C puts out 3 reactive oxygen species.
Okay.
Right. Whereas 1 molecule of melatonin, which we make for free, we make so much melatonin over nighttime that it's just ridiculous. And even during the day, with the help of near-infrared light, puts out 10 reactive oxygen species to every one molecule.
Okay.
And we get that for free in our body, and it's producing it all the time if we have a good circadian rhythm and good light exposure. So for an example, the sunlight, like UV light, will damage DNA.
Bear with me, friends. So one vitamin C molecule would clean up 3 of those. One melatonin molecule would clean up 10.
Exactly.
Right, does way better. Okay. And they're not like specific to different radio-oxygen species. Why is that such a tongue time for me?
I don't know. It's
either.
Really hard though.
Like hard to listen
Before
to.
this
Like, why are you
podcast,
struggling so
I was
much?
actually in the mirror saying reactive oxygen species, reactive oxygen species.
Reactive oxygen. I said that wrong. Okay. So let's just ROS this.
Yeah, ROS.
ROS. So there's not like different types of ROS within the body. It's kind of like a one.
There is a few different types, but we're not
Okay.
going to go in. Like, I don't think it's really important to like discriminate against which ones.
I know we're inclusive here.
But they can be anywhere in the body. So they can be in the mitochondria.
Yep.
They actually can be a good thing for your body. If something's damaged, we want it to be cleaned up sometimes. So it's a good little signal to our body to do that. But if we get it chronically and we get it out of alignment and out of the natural cycle, then it's not great. And so, so melatonin is going to clean up 10 ROS. So it's going to put out a ton more. It's going to put out 10 times more inflammation. No, 4 times more inflammation than vitamin C.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, as it can go all through your body, whereas vitamin C can't.
Mm-hmm.
And melatonin also promotes antioxidant enzymes such as glutathione, which is also going to put out so much inflammation as well. So it's just an incredible antioxidant. And it's very specific. It knows what its job is. And so basically what I'm getting at is that the amniotic fluid is full of melatonin, which is going to help keep baby healthy, ensure its proper development. Also neurologically, so important for baby. We don't want neuroinflammation. We want everything to be repaired. If your body makes a mistake, it wants it to be able to delete that mistake really quickly and continue growth in a good manner. So important. But if you are not exposing yourself to natural sunlight, or you have a poor circadian rhythm, and you're around artificial blue light at nighttime, this near-infrared light becomes depleted. And so we're not going to see all of that beautiful melatonin that we need to make a really healthy baby. And I think this is one of the reasons why we're seeing a lot of the, not even just infertility, but a climb in childhood illness as well.
Yeah. I actually was listening back to our episode with Nico Kennedy, where which is also a great episode to reference. And a lot of what you're saying reminds me of what she was speaking about with melatonin and it being like cleaning up the inflammation during birth. So with every contraction, and I guess like even in a workout, you have a contraction, you want melatonin to clean up the reactive oxygen species. Hey, I feel like I need a round of applause right now. To clean those up, ready for the next contraction, which also allows you to have endurance and for like the system to work quite easily and quickly. And this is often why women will go into labor at night. You have high levels of melatonin. So you can just see how like important that one molecule is and like the kind of, well, it just plays a part in the whole process, doesn't it? So, I mean, we could extrapolate from that and just assume that it's really important in day-to-day living as well.
Yeah, it definitely is. And you look at, you might think, oh, that's great, but how do I apply that to my life? And I think it's just about really being intentional in how we actually spend our time and what we're doing. So for example, I can tell my friends, my clients, same thing. I have so many friends. No, Kiera, they're your clients. They're not your friend. Sad. Stop saying that. That's embarrassing. I just said that. Anyway. Anyway, I'll say to them, look, if stopping scrolling on your phone is too hard for you, go and do it outside. Go lay on the grass and scroll on your phone for half an hour a day. If you're doing you're reconciling your finances or whatever it is, just do it outside. And if you're baking a cake, even my clients with children, they'll go and sit outside and it'll be a nice thing. It slows them down. They bring the bowl outside, they bring the ingredients outside and they do it together. So it's just about really rearranging your life to doing as much as you can outside under natural sunlight as possible. And it can be really difficult, especially if you're somebody who was me 4 years ago and you're getting a degree and you're going into that corporate role where you actually are inside all the time for 9 hours a day working at an office desk. There's still so much you can do, and that's where I think red light therapy and things are so important and so useful. But it is hard, and people kind of shy away from this area of health because they think, oh, I can't do that. Like, I can't implement that. That's too big of a change. I just want to take a pill. But as we can see, like, melatonin is so much more effective than vitamin C, so obviously. But there's not really any substitute for this. And so it forces people to really look at their values and look at not just health, but what do I prioritize? And they learn about health and then they start thinking about time, freedom and all of these things, and it can be really overwhelming for people. But you don't need to change your whole life. Obviously, we all would love to just be outside all day, but there are small things you can do, just like scrolling on your phone outside or doing some work outside.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference. The other thing that I kind of spoke about was just simply standing like barefoot outside. That also acts as an antioxidant because when we're around equipment like what we are now, or electricity, or even just being inside, we get like a charge buildup. And electricians know this on our skin. And then as soon as we ground, like we touch a tree or even just one finger on a plant, we will offload all of that charge to the ground, which then for getting rid of like the nasty charge, we have more of the good charge inside of us, which is really important. There's a lot of studies there now that's showing that during conception, natural conception, I'm sure you've seen those beautiful videos of like the light spark that happens during conception.
Yes, they're amazing.
That's all based on someone's electrical charge in their body as well, and how much light they have inside of them.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so, you know, different silos of health know this, like IVF doctors or people who really study fertility understand this, but they don't really understand this side of health or the electrical body, and so they don't really make the correlation. But if you know a little bit about a lot of different things, you can kind of start to piece it together and the infertility crisis starts to make sense. But I want to talk on chronic stress at some point too, just to let me forget.
Okay, before.
Yes.
Why has melatonin been banned for children or like in general?
So they have come out. I've tried to research it, but they haven't actually said too much. If someone knows, let me know. But it just says that this, now they found that it's having a negative impact on children's health overall, and that mothers are buying high dose melatonin, and it is classed as a medication, but it's being sold as a supplement. And they're giving it to their children, and they are having overdoses on melatonin.
How do you overdose on melatonin?
Oh, I don't know.
Is it because it's a synthetic though? Like I feel anything that is synthetic that we're adding to our body, like it's synthetic. It's not working exactly the biological way. No, it was not perfect, don't. But no, it's not working in the exact biological way that our body would receive that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there is some kind of like when you take a pill, it's not like pure melatonin. Like
yeah, exactly.
It's been, lab created and stuffed with fillers, and there are other things that are going to be detrimental. So I'm actually really surprised at anyone that like just offhandedly gives their children
people just don't
synthetic
know
stuff. Well, and look, I had this conversation with Kimberly Ann Johnson just recently, where we were talking about progesterone and progesterone creams, and like in my age group, like everyone's just on the progesterone creams because perimenopause and menopause, and everyone's being told that like, oh yeah, it's just a cream, you just put it on, it's totally safe, it's bioavailable, like it's the same as the progesterone you would produce in your body. It isn't. It's synthetic, and there's going to be other things that your body has to mitigate because there's going to be some trash in there as well. So, I feel like, instead of dosing your kids, if anyone here is doing that, I don't judge you at all. But you could also just take them outside.
Yeah, and turn off the lights. That's the thing they've never thought before, that the lights are telling their children that it's daytime, and maybe those stimulating devices they're on are causing their cortisol to spike, and their body essentially thinks it's day.
Yeah.
So if you're not giving your child the signals of sleep, why would it sleep? It thinks that it's daytime. That would be silly to do. And so it's about reinforcing that safety, sleepiness, and just like relaxation to get children to go to bed. I don't have kids, but I've tried this with my nephew. His mother couldn't believe it. She's like, what? I was like, yeah, he's asleep at 7:30. Just like, how? But yeah, it can be as simple as that. We try to complicate things as humans, but more often than not, we just complicate them for no reason. We take a step back and stop looking at the biochemical picture, and we just look at what we actually can see. We can make some big correlations on our own. But I think what you said is so fantastic. With melatonin, we're not designed to take it orally. Like, we make it.
Yeah.
There's no reason we need to take it. And like I said, we do want reactive oxygen species. We don't want all these antioxidants all the time. They're there for a reason. And I think, yeah, especially in young children, they're so small, and the amounts of melatonin they're being given is horrible, and there's a lack of regulations around a lot of supplements.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're, depending on how young we're talking here, if you're still breastfeeding, like your breast milk, especially at night, has really high amounts of melatonin.
Exactly.
Saying, assuming that you partake in nature in any way, shape or form. So, yeah, and you can't measure that. And then what are you going to dose on top of that?
Yeah.
It is really interesting. I think too, correct me if I'm wrong, you would totally know this better, but children actually make a lot more melatonin than us.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So, which is
telling.
Again, correct me if I'm wrong, because my head has definitely been in a different realm the last little bit. But I always thought that for children, like, I mean, my kids never burn. Like, when we go to the beach, they never burn. They can be out there for hours, and I always start feeling pink and hot and burny well and truly before they even get pink. And that's when I kind of bring everyone in, because I don't want to get burnt. But is that because of the melatonin that they're able to produce, like they're using the sun and like harvesting that, whereas like I'm probably not doing such a great job, and then all of a sudden my body's just like, get out?
Yeah, great question. I can't give you a real answer because I'm not well versed on that topic, but I will say there's a lot of reasons. Is your partner the same ethnicity as you? Is he darker?
We're both olive, but I've got like Middle Eastern
heritage.
I think he's more European.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I guess children are more resilient. Like, they have, like, you obviously grew up here, but they're the next generation, so they're kind of used to that Australian sun from you. Yeah. So they're going to be a little bit, their mitochondria and their body is going to be a little bit more adapted to the Australian climate. Also, they're probably a lot more hydrated than you as well. Like, children are just fresher. They hold more fluid. That's a fact.
Yeah.
It's also why they're more sensitive to EMFs. But, so the more hydrated that you are, the more time you spend outside, the less you're going to burn. Probably have less inflammation as well. System's just working a little bit quicker. And they're just younger, unfortunately. They have youth on their side. With us, we're stressed more often too. We have big kid problems that we couldn't wait to grow up and have. And now we're here, we're like, I just want to be 7 again.
No, look, my 10-year-old, she'll tell you about her problems at the moment. She doesn't have a horse. Life is pretty bleak.
So sad.
Yeah. Okay. So melatonin banned now. Stop giving it to your kids. There are other ways we can get melatonin into them. Talking about stress. I feel like that's the perfect segue.
Perfect.
Let's get into cortisol and stress.
Okay. So another reason I think we find ourselves in an infertility crisis, which actually I don't think people realize it's as bad as it is. Like, every second one of my clients or people who come and talk to me or my friends can't fall pregnant. Even some of my closest friends who are 25 to 30 years old, they can't fall pregnant. And then they're getting blood tests and they're seeing all these hormone imbalances and they're like, I had no idea. I had no symptoms. I'm fine. And it is really bad, and we need to focus a lot more on it. I think it's something we don't really think of because we're not ready to have kids yet. because we might be only 20 or 25 or whatever, and we think it's just so natural because our parents did it. And then it comes to the time and we're like, oh my gosh, I have to start working on my health. Which is why I'm such a big advocate of looking after your health 24/7 if you're a woman in today's society.
For men too.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, with your clients, is it just women who are suffering from infertility, or are you finding that men are equally?
Yeah. So we'll run semen tests sometimes with males, the husbands, and quite often they're pretty good. And I mean, the data's changed. So what was compared, like what was 5, 10, even 5 years ago, high quality semen has actually changed. So the data and the, I guess, ranges we have to work with make today's semen look a lot healthier than it is, just because it's based on a largely unhealthy population, right? But our grandfathers, this is weird to talk about, but our grandfathers' semen is way more healthy than everyone's today. But I don't find that that's the reason. Sometimes for sure that someone can't fall pregnant or there's infertility. I find that there's a lot more bigger things at play, whether that's like metaphysical or biological or whatever it is. But I think chronic stress is such a big factor. And I think this could be an episode in itself, because I know that you talk a lot about this as well, like that dynamic between male and like masculine and feminine, and the roles in society and all of these things that have kind of been told that males and females aren't different. They're the exact same, and you can be whatever you want whenever you want it. And, you know, our biology is the same, when really if you look at female biology, like we're not designed for harsh, stressful environments. Like we have hormones that are very reactive to stress. We can become a lot more insulin resistant a lot quicker than men. Men are designed to kind of be that, biologically speaking, this isn't even my opinion, that provider, that doing the hard things, that consistently showing up in a stable mood requires that grit, that protector, and that's their hormones tell us that, and their biology tells us that. And women are more designed to be that loving and that nurturing. And it doesn't mean, and they're to respond to stress. So when there's a stressful environment, they're more likely to flight because they need to be kept safe. Their body reacts to that. Whereas a man, they're more likely to fight. And we can see that in biology, but we're told a different story now, which is very strange. And it doesn't mean that one's more important than the other, but in a society where we're told that we have to be independent and we have to do everything on our own, and we're all the exact same and we have the same role, men and female in the world, we're putting two jobs on our shoulders. So not only is a woman now the home caretaker, but she's also looking after everyone's emotional needs. She's working full time. There's
nothing to protect from, and so now everyone's a provider.
Exactly.
But I think what gets left at the wayside is just the fact that that provider role for a woman internally plays out a lot different for a man.
Yeah.
And on the outside, women can get there and they can meet those demands. 100%. I know women slaying, but but how that plays internally, I think, is where I want to focus the conversation on more, because biologically it doesn't
make sense, really.
Yeah. Well, it's just negatively impacting your hormones.
Exactly.
Like more than anything, like our stress response is entirely different to a male stress response.
Exactly.
Actually, like I think too on this, because you'd brought up that, you know, biologically a man would bring a consistent mood like day in, day out, and be consistent in the way he's acting. And I think that something that we're seeing play out today a lot is that men aren't doing that, and they don't feel like they need to protect the women around them. And you know, likely we're looking at very low testosterone. I don't know if you've seen there's been a few little skits circulating recently about low testosterone, but I feel like that probably plays a really big part in what we're seeing with particular men who are being a bit more aggressive, or protecting the women around them, or don't feel feel compelled to do that, and perhaps even using the women around them. And this is where we, see poor relationships, poor work dynamics, and I won't go on.
Yeah, there's this.
But I feel like that could really play into maybe a lot of what can't be defended when we're looking at, I don't know, gender wars.
Pretty much. There's this like saying at the moment, it's like a modern day love is a high testosterone woman and a low testosterone man. The perfect match. But at what point is that actually in fact impacting our health and our fertility? And like everything you said, I just so agree with. But it is like we hold both these roles, the weight of both of the roles on our shoulders. Each of us do really. Because now if a girl is in that provider mindset and she's going, and I notice this myself in my own relationship, like when I've had a big day of work and like I don't want to cook dinner. Like I don't want to ask my boyfriend how his day was. Like I'm just like, oh, leave me alone. Like I'm so tired.
Yeah.
And if I'm not working that day, I'm like all happy and I'm, how was your day? And the relationship dynamic energetically is so much better. And it's challenging to as someone who is quite passionate, does have a lot of things to say. It is challenging and I see that, but being aware of it makes things so much better. Yeah. I think it's more about the energy and the way that you do things and the energy in whatever it is that you're doing versus what you're actually doing. It's like why. Yeah. And the relationship energy that's there in the dynamic. But anyways, now girls, like we shouldn't have to hold two stressful situations, providing and caring on our shoulders and birth giving. But we're told that that's not safe enough and we don't feel safe enough to offload half of that responsibility to someone else. And maybe we split life's challenges between the two of us. And as a result, we can come together and bring something so beautiful to each other that we can't provide for ourselves. Yeah. But we can give it to each other and we can create this beautiful dynamic and this really strong relationship. And not only is that going to impact fertility, it's going to impact our mood and just life as well. Yeah. The life our children get to experience. But the reason I talk about this is because chronic stress for women has never been higher. And I can see this in blood tests, in insulin resistance, in elevated cortisol. One of the main drivers of PCOS, and everyone knows what that is now, it's not a hormonal condition, it's a metabolic condition. Yeah. I think it was like a new study is 88% of all women who have PCOS have insulin resistance. And insulin resistance, people think, or doctors tell you, just move more and eat less sugar. Because elevated blood glucose is going to cause insulin resistance. So stop eating things that will spike your blood glucose, stop eating carbs.
Can we go quickly into the mechanism of action for that?
Yeah.
Because like high levels of cortisol, there is an actual function for increasing your insulin resistance. Can you take us through that?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, of course. So cortisol will spike your blood glucose levels. And insulin is what's in charge of removing that blood glucose from our circulating system. And so the job of insulin is to open up the channel between the muscles and the blood and say, okay, insulin, come on into the muscle and be used. So that's a fantastic way to regulate that. But if blood glucose becomes spiked for a long, long time, insulin doesn't really do its job properly, or we can become resistant to insulin. Now, the reason that our body wants to elevate blood glucose when we do have high cortisol is because it thinks that we're stressed. But it doesn't know we're just reading a nasty message from our boss, or we're just thinking about the future too much, or we're just anxious and that we're not standing in front of a tiger. And it's like, okay, but Kiera needs fast energy. She needs that carb metabolism for when whatever threat comes our way, which I feel like it is because her cortisol's high. And so that's actually our body helping us. And so when we wake up in the morning and we start thinking about how stressful our day is and perhaps we're not happy, or we're under, artificial blue light, which will spike your blood glucose without even eating anything, as well just thinking about negative thoughts, as will a fight with your partner, as will an activated nervous system. It'll all elevate blood glucose. And for most women, every single box I just mentioned is ticked. And so we have this chronically elevated blood glucose. We're becoming insulin resistant, which is going to lead to not only increased rates of depression and anxiety, increased rates of postpartum depression, miscarriages, the need for C-section birth, hormonal imbalances, even Alzheimer's and dementia.
autoimmune diseases. I
Autoimmune
feel like
diseases, yep.
high on that list as well. Yeah, and I mean, gosh, who doesn't have an autoimmune disease these days or some kind of neurotypical situation? Yeah, no, it's an epidemic, but something we can do something about with very simple information. And well, actually the information is complicated. The actions to do are very simple.
So in the mornings when we wake up, our body starts to read itself and get a grip on how we're feeling and what's happening in our environment. And it does that through cortisol and our hormones. And so cortisol is a direct reflection of how stressed we are, which is basically a messenger between the stressfulness in our environment and then telling us like whether you're in a stressful environment or a safe environment, right? Because our body's not really biologically wired to know that blue light can raise our cortisol and we're anxious and all these things because it doesn't really understand that just yet. And so something that we're seeing is something called pregnenolone steal syndrome, which is, I don't know if you want me to go there.
Go
there. Okay. So if we're really stressed and our body reads cortisol and says, oh, Kiera's cortisol is really, really high today, it doesn't decide that now is a good time to be fertile. It says Kiera's really stressed today. Now's not a good time to make a baby, and so we're not going to ovulate. And we're going to downregulate all of her fertility hormones, and we're going to upregulate her cortisol. And so the precursor, pregnenolone, that makes both cortisol and a lot of our fertility hormones, such as progesterone, I believe as well.
Yep.
It'll use that to make more cortisol or nothing rather than our fertility hormones. And so a big reason that women will have hormone imbalances is just because in that morning period when their body is getting ready to make their hormones for the day, they're inside under artificial blue light or they're really stressed, the nervous system's dysregulated. And a lot of the times it is a little bit of everything. But I find that if you can manage what you can, like light, for example, and maybe doing some grounding, you can do a lot to bring that back down, bring the cortisol down enough so that your body doesn't decide that it's too unsafe to make a baby. And it's really sad because I've seen it reverse very quickly in people and it's such a simple fix. But yet centralized medicine won't acknowledge that that is something that's happening despite the large amounts of research that's been done surrounding it.
Are they just not getting the research? Like, are the papers being published but not shared around? And so they don't, like, because I mean, imagine going into an infertility clinic, being like, look, we've tried to conceive for a year and no dice. And they're like, have you tried conceiving with red light around your house? Yeah, if they were like, okay, here's some things like that you could actively change that are quite simple, change up your light environment. We've seen a lot of improvement with or like a higher rate of success when we use IVF under red lights. Like maybe like if the fertility that way is under red lights, you know. Maybe we can extrapolate that, try it, come back to us. Yeah. No. Because if then, like, surely, I mean, I don't know if it's still the rule, but it was a couple of years ago that you weren't going to get treatment with IVF unless you had been trying to conceive for 12 months. So isn't that like kind of an invitation to give a little bit more information for that?
Yeah, it's a really hard one because I've seen both sides of it. And I mean, it's not, there's this war against GPs at the moment, but it's not our doctor's job. Like somewhere along the line, we forgot that we thought that it was our doctor's job to keep us healthy and to make sure that we knew what diet we needed to eat and we knew that exercise was good for us and that waking up early was good for us. And we thought that it was their job to tell us that we needed to have a regulated nervous system, but it actually isn't. And when you look at what they're actually educated in school, they're not taught like how to be a health coach or how to see life through someone else's eyes or to be empathetic or to coach somebody in that way through diet and lifestyle choices. They're designed to treat chronic and acute illness. That's it, with medications.
Yeah, pharmaceuticals.
And, you know, we can talk about that and when Rockefeller made the universities and the Flexner Report and everything like this. But if you look at the education, that's their job, is to prescribe you a pill to help you because you have a chronic or acute illness that you've tried to fix but you can't manage. And so that's their job. It's provided by the government, which we're very lucky to have. But now we are learning that we have to onboard responsibility for ourselves. And the women in community used to hold a lot of these answers, and they were very in touch with health, and this information was passed down from mother to child. But with the Industrial Revolution, and with the materialist society we live in now, a lot of people's values and their knowledge have changed. So now we look on devices and things for information, and then that can be controlled through whatever means. And we're not really receiving the information that we should. Now we kind of are, with more people like yourself hosting podcasts and doing great things. And our doctors just don't know. Like, we forget that when you become a doctor, like, why do you become a doctor? I've worked with a lot of doctors. I've had them as clients. I've had them as students, talk to them all the time. And I asked them, why did they get into the industry? They said, because I want to make a lot of money. And my dad told me to. And it was job security. They didn't get into that degree because they were passionate about it. They went through the torture of med school and the torture of placement and night shifts and learning all these things. And even in nursing school, like, I didn't even have time to learn really and understand and critically think what I was learning because I just needed to pass an exam. Like, I just needed to memorize information, but I wasn't being taught to think critically. And so the doctors their mindset isn't set up in that way to critically think or to think about health in this holistic lens. It's literally not their job or not what they've been designed to do. But yet we as the consumer have this illusion that that is their job and that they've somehow failed us, which to a degree, yes, absolutely. Yeah. But they're not informed. Like, they don't know. They're just a product of the system that they went through. And so I don't think IVF is any different. Like, they're not listening to podcasts like this. They're not reading the newest research that comes out every month around red light. They're just not passionate. They just want to make their money. They want to go home and be with their kids, and they probably hate their job just like everyone else.
Yeah, see that, and that's so hard because, I mean, when we're talking about fertility, it is such an emotional and heartbreaking situation. You kind of want someone who really wants to help, to be in the position of helping you to fall pregnant, and someone who wants to see success again and again and again. I think still currently in Australia, there's a 20% success rate with IVF overall, 20% chance that you will come out of it with a baby. And that's ridiculous. Like, with the process that's involved in it, it is
the money, the finance.
The finance, the process, the amount of hormonal fuckery your body has to go through is absolutely insane. And like, the detachment from the personal and intimate part of creating human life, like that, all of that just amounts to so much trauma and heartbreak. And to then not come out with a child is like, I mean, it's cruel. It's cruel. And I understand where you're coming from, where it's like not their job, or like they, or their job is to do the thing and get the money and have
I'm also just trying not to get cancelled. I've been through a lot this year and I don't want to go through anything else.
Oh my God, my heart for you. Well, I'll get cancelled, it's fine. But like, the reality is that when you're working in these industries, like come to them with the intention to help, with the intention to have success stories, because ultimately, like, don't be there otherwise. And I don't know.
Exactly. I know. I understand your heart and where you are at. I guess I just have a lot of sympathy for them because I've spoken to so many of them and I've been by their side when they've realized that they've spent their whole lives, those people that are passionate, and somehow maybe they, got off track or something, or life got busy and something happened and they became less of what they were when they were 20 or 25, right? Because it happens to us all. And then they've realized they've spent their whole life thinking that they were doing something really great, but they weren't. And those moments are really hard for them, like mentally, spiritually. And so it does suck. But it also takes somebody, it's why I respect doctors who are taking this information and running with it, is because it takes a lot of humility to say I was wrong. And this title that I had, it doesn't really mean anything because it's not just about learning new information. You can't learn this without understanding society and exactly what I just spoke about with the medical institution. And that stuff is like life-shattering. Like, I don't know if you remember the moment you started finding out about the actualities of life, but it's a big like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, I don't feel very good anymore about this.
Well, it takes away, I don't know, I reckon this falls back to like the whole of society, or at least in the Western world, never wanting to grow up and take responsibility or
Exactly.
like be an adult. Because it's like, oh, daddy, medical institution, like fed me the thing, and like I could just trust and I didn't have to,
Yeah.
you know, take responsibility or whatever. And now it's like, oh, now I have to be an adult and I have to take responsibility for what I've done and like for not
Yeah.
having fully educated myself, or for not being more curious, or for not seeing all my patients fail in this area and doing something about it. So no, and I get you, but at the same time, I feel like there's enough information out there. There are so many ways to get it. There is, and the evidence is right in front of you. Like if you're working in a doctor's office and you have got people coming in again and again and again, and they're on like antibiotics, like prescriptions constantly, like you've got the evidence right there to maybe change it up.
Yeah. And not everyone is like us. Like I do get it. And there is a sense of I guess I was more angry about this when I first dropped out of school, which was really annoying. But when, you know, I walk into a room and I tell people I'm a women's health coach, and people will respond however they will, depending on who they are and what their mindset is. But doctors, you know, they love the fact that they can walk into a room and be like, I'm a medical doctor. And they instantly get respect. And that's the way that society is set up. And that's why people cling to those roles and those titles. But COVID taught me that I wasn't a nurse. I wasn't my scrubs. I wasn't a high achieving academic. I was none of that.
Dude, wait till you get to walk into a room and be like, I'm a mum. People bow down. They bow down to you.
But you know what I mean. So
Absolutely.
it's this whole an issue with society, not just that. And but there are GPs, like I have GPs that will send people into my way, and they'll message me and say, oh, Dr. Max like told me to follow you and I have this issue. Or even people from America will send people to me, which is really great. And they just say, I just don't have the time, or I don't have the knowledge. And I guess it is hard. And a lot of what people can do, I mean, Kelsey Dexter really opened my eyes to this. She's a beautiful endocrinologist from Texas, from the South. She's great. I met her in person, actually, very beautiful woman. She did this beautiful reel the other day, and she said a lot of what GPs and medical professionals can do is controlled by insurance. So yes, they might want to do this or run these labs or whatever for you, but they actually can't, because it's controlled by insurance what they can do. And if they're not profitable, like if they don't have you know, a clinic might pay them $300,000 a year. That's based off them seeing one client every 10 minutes. And if they don't meet their quota, they don't have a job. So it's really hard because money clouds judgment. And when people are using money as their decision-making process, like all their decisions, the ultimate deciding point is financial to them, then you're always going to make a decision that's not aligned with God or aligned with your morals or integrity, because you're allowing finances and money to dictate how you behave in this world, which is not good, in my opinion. But also, not everyone's like us and has access to this knowledge. I've definitely been in appointments with people where the doctor's given them advice, like, okay, what's an example? You might have like an ulcer, and they're like, okay, well, you need to brush your teeth and you need to apply this ointment, and have you ever thought about this and getting in the sun? And they just don't do it. Like they just don't want to do it. They don't do it. They just want the pill. And they don't have the time to educate because they only have 10 to 15 minutes, or else they're going to get in trouble because they haven't met the quota for the day. So it really is a trapped system. And I'm happy that I didn't end up there, but it's a completely different job and I think health coaches have become more prominent. Would love to see health coaches in fertility clinics. Like, for example, there actually are fertility programs. So talking to a lady the other day, and she said she's coming out of a 12-week fertility program now. And if this doesn't work, then they said that she can do IVF. But what she was taught in there, she showed me the program, it's nothing like what I speak about or what we know to be true. It's just, are you eating a balanced diet? Are you regulating your blood sugar? Are you getting 8 hours of sleep at night? Like, it's very basic things. I would love to see this information presented because there's so much data available in those clinics, in these programs. But again, that's money lost for them. So I don't know, we can get so deep into it. But I hope that people start to understand like that kind of machine that is, is what's happening in the medical industry right now.
Yeah. Okay, well, that leads me then to what you're currently doing, which is education.
Educational purposes only, not medical advice.
Education. No, but like with Quantum Health Academy. I don't know if that had started when we last spoke.
No, it wouldn't have. It would have been in its early infancy.
Oh, and now it is full-fledged.
It's full-fledged.
What is
real.
It is real.
It's very real.
It's so real. We'll get into that on another episode. But where can people find you and where can people go to get this information?
Yeah, of course. So I'm pretty much everywhere. Information from me, I'm definitely not like an active influencer, but I will pop up things every now and then. I think it's very high yield. I don't really like to talk about how detrimental short form content in our phones and stuff is to us and then go and be someone who's like putting up all this content and making you stay on your phone.
Yeah.
So doing a lot of long form over on Substack. It's The Health Issue is my page. And I'm on Instagram, Kiera Lea Wellness, and X. And I have a podcast called The Health Standard. Has some good episodes on there. And what I'm currently niching into, purely from my own experience, because this is what I had when I was younger, I feel like this last year really forced me to look inward and be like, why did you get into this in the first place? Like, where is this passion stemming from? And it's because I was a young woman with all these health concerns, spending all this money on my health, supplements this, supplements that, when really I just needed someone to tell me this is actually the blueprint for health and these are the things that impact your health, and then I just needed to regulate that myself.
Yeah.
So I'm working with women with PCOS and endometriosis, not only to lose weight or feel good or cure their acne or whatever it may be, or even just to educate them on what actually is going on in their body.
Yeah.
Because when you get diagnosed with something like that, you usually have a doctor just tapping on his keyboard telling you, oh, you have PCOS, and you're sitting there thinking, I don't know what that is, or am I going to be able to have a baby? And so I do all of this to optimize them for fertility. I think that good health, so an absence of symptoms in any illness is fantastic, and that's going to set you up for good fertility. So whilst you might not be wanting to get pregnant now, maybe in 10 years, 5 years you will. And if you start now and you learn about health now and you regulate your body and your symptoms now, you're going to have such a fantastic pregnancy later on. And so I'm passionate about doing that for myself and sharing that journey with other people.
Oh, I love that. Okay, and you have the Quantum Health Academy. So
yeah,
give us a little scoop into that.
Okay, so the Quantum Health Academy is a 6-month program that I designed for healthcare professionals if you're interested in learning about quantum and circadian health and actually how light impacts us, and actually looking at the peer-reviewed data and having someone kind of provide a structured approach to learning. I mean, I learned a lot of this myself, so don't get me wrong. If you want to go out there, be your own educator, do the research. But if you are someone who's like, I'm really busy, I just want someone to provide me with structured learning, then QHA is what I created for you, backed by resources and, all the peer-reviewed data. I have some fantastic ideas. Research isn't there for all of those ideas yet, but what there is, I'm providing it with those ideas along with it. I don't teach in it. We have 5 healthcare professionals from the States, nutritionists, medical doctors, optometrists teaching this, how light actually impacts our health. And we really just did that because I got really exhausted last year. I think I had 43 clients at one stage and I was so tired. And I just thought, I can't keep doing this on my own. I need to educate other people. And so here we are with QHA. It's definitely not designed to be a thought leader in the field. It's definitely designed to be structured learning, to really just showcase what we do know about light and biology, and just apply that for people who want it, so that people like the nurses and the doctors that are looking after our loved ones can perhaps start to make waves in their industries.
That would be incredible. And I feel like a course like this coming from someone like you is going to be well thought out, and be a beautiful compliment to anyone in any field of health. So well done for creating that.
Thank you. It was
Very
a couple
impressive.
of years in the making, that's for sure. And it's been through so many twists and turns, but I think passion really keeps you moving forward. And me, myself taking the course, like I designed this for myself.
Yeah.
And I just almost cry when we had a call last night and I just look at this information, I look at how it's presented and the professionalism of it. And I'm just so proud of what I have created, and it's been a lot of hard work. But seeing the students and what they're getting out of it has just made it also worth it. And I can't believe that it's even something that I created and it's out there and it's doing its job.
Well, I urge everyone to go and check it out because it is really impressive, and the information that you have to offer people and how you've created it is incredible. So everyone, please go follow, like, share and join Kiera Lea on her, with her course and what you have to offer, because it's definitely information we need to get out there, and simple information that we can turn people's health around with. So well done.
Thank you.
Very
I appreciate it.
Thank you everyone for joining us today, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining me today. If this ignited a flame for you, please share, follow the show, and leave a review. The more support and subscriptions the show gets, the more powerful and credentialed guests I can bring on to deepen these conversations. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next week.